Hi, Terry.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy day to you. How are you doing?
Yes, we're going on a Wednesday.
Ooh, I
Thanks
love
for letting
Wednesday.
me
It's my favorite day.
reschedule. I was not feeling great. Like you were saying earlier, this week's been kind of weird.
No worries.
Allergies as well.
Oh, yes. Welcome to Texas.
Always and forever.
Yes.
Um, I'm going to ask you about your day. Let's just get this started. It's good to see you. I love you so much.
It's good to see you. I love you too.
Alrighty, y'all. Welcome to The Wolf and the Bear, an educational spiritual podcast starring psychic medium and channel Terri Groom, and me as your
Hello.
host, Sophia Sterling. This podcast is to bring real spiritual knowledge channeled straight from source or straight from our personal experience without ego, and as Terry says, with love first, then wisdom. Terry, as always, is our resident wolf energy. She's the #1 psychic medium and channel in DFW, and she's a published author of Altered Grace and featured on Netflix's Haunted. And I am her forever student of the craft and rocking the bear energy. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to enter the chance to get a 30-minute reading. 2 names will be drawn at the end of every month. And let's do this. All
Let's make it
right.
happen. I love it. Wednesday is my favorite day of the week,
Is
followed
it?
by my other favorites. Yes. It's
All your
great.
other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is new with you? Anything
Well,
since we last
I'll
spoke?
tell you. It's funny. I love to use humor in getting through the day and getting through situations. But I'll tell you, I have opened up probably 15 of those messages, and I just want to address this real quick to the listening audience. When you get an email that starts off with, you know, billing department need new updated payment information. And this one was followed by the superfoods that are draining your energy. I
Oh,
thought,
Lord.
oh, that's interesting. We're going to really mix a couple things at once. But please, people, realize there's a lot of fraud going on the internet right now. Don't open these emails. Please be careful of that. I just wanted to bring that out. I had a dear friend who went all over the Metroplex here in Dallas, Fort Worth, buying gift cards because someone had threatened her that they were going to turn her in for something that wasn't correct,
Oh,
that they
no.
said was on her computer. So she gave them all the numbers on the back of the gift cards, and naturally it was a scam.
Oh,
And
my
she's a very
God.
intelligent woman, and she was out almost $500 on just one card alone. So
Damn.
again, be reasonable, be perceptive. Ooh, perception. That might be coming in to play pretty soon. But I did want to throw that out there. If it doesn't look right, it isn't. Don't accept it.
Yeah, and I guess that's a really good thing, too, for our sake. We will not be messaging anybody to give free readings, to give anything except for one person or 2 people at the end of every month. And we will also say your name on the following podcast. Other than that, we do not have PayPal. We don't have any of those things. We're not trying to get y'all to give us anything. So also, I know in the tarot community, there's a ton, Terry, on YouTube and stuff.
Yes.
At this point now, everybody's saying, like, please don't follow the spams. We're not trying to get at you.
No.
Same is true for us as well. If there's anything we have to offer you, we'll reach out in an appropriate, official fashion.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to hear that, though. That's really crazy.
Well, again, it's part of our new reality, and this is part of our world. It's part of our desperation in the world, and there are a lot of people that want to take advantage of everyone. And so just be aware. If it doesn't look right, it isn't, and delete it. If they really need you, they'll send you another one and another one and another one. Delete them. Those are
you
all
won't
scams.
miss them.
That's right. You're getting a lot of spam when your computer says that you've reached your 500 limit for the month. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a thing? I didn't know that.
You're like, I'm still so happy to have all this working for me.
Absolutely.
Well, but other than the scamming, anything, still work is good, nothing crazy?
Work is good, keeping busy. I love what I do. It's my passion, as you well know, and it's just been a good, busy, few days. Looking forward to another few busy days, and just moving on into the weekend. I've got investigations, paranormal work coming up. That's on the agenda. Originally we were going to start it this weekend, but it'll probably be about 2 weeks out now. It'll be an overnighter, which is something we haven't done in a while. So
are y'all going to be over in that Garland area?
We are, absolutely. I'm excited.
Fun.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, good.
A lot of good energy, and we've done several of them. So it's ramping up. So
When you
keeping
say
me busy, keeping
overnight,
me happy.
what
Hmm?
time? Like not counting setup because I know I've been there with you during
Well,
that.
we're actually going to do a location, and we'll, I can't really tell you the name because I've got to keep it
Hmm.
confidential for the client. But this is a business, of course, and they are open until we're doing it on a Sunday, just so that everyone will be sleep deprived for work on Monday.
Why not?
We're going to start setting up at 9 o'clock p.m. And we'll
Wow.
probably be there till not all night, but probably about 9 to about 2 to 2:30
Okay,
a.m.
gotcha. Oh,
And then
wow.
we will bring everything, take it all down, and review the evidence over the next several weeks.
Are you the type to believe that the veil is thinner during that witching hour energy, or no?
Yeah,
Ah.
I'm a yes and no kind of gal when it comes to
Uh-huh.
that. Energy is energy. I don't think they're watching their watches going, okay, now's the time. The lights just went off.
That's so funny.
But I do feel it's also when things are more quiet that you're more often to get information and a ramp up of energy. So it's not so much we look at those bewitching times, and there's so many opinions out there about them. But I really want to say that spirits are not watching their watches waiting for dark. They're
Hmm.
there, and it's just that you're in a better position to hear them when there's not a lot of noise.
That's a really good point. And also, too, if we believe what we say we do, it's got to help when you got a bunch of people with electronics packed to the
Yes.
gills with a full charge.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
now suddenly you're there with your battery packs and they know that you're interested in them. They're gonna say, I'll here, we'll do a trade if you want to
Well,
hang out. Give me some of
exactly.
that battery. I'll shake the light over here, even Stevens.
Well, and that's true, and that's a good point. And when you look at it, we are actually going into an environment where we are, for the spirits, they're guests, even though
Hmm.
they may not be wanted by the homeowner or the business owner. We go in with the respect. And I know that we'll have many opportunities going forward to go into some of the information that comes from investigations. Of course, with not patient, but client confidentiality, we will make
Hmm.
sure not to share too much of locations.
Very good. Well, that sounds like fun
I
coming
know,
up
I'm
soon.
excited. How about you? I know that you've been blowing and going and getting with your allergies situated.
Yes, yeah, I've been a bed potato the last 2 days.
Good.
But I was there with the Miracles of Joy, which is a local shop for us. They've got
Yes,
a
absolutely.
Louisville location,
Love it.
but they just opened their Bedford one. So I was over there for their ribbon cutting, and that was an incredible time and just very cool to see, subsets of the people that we already know very well, and
Absolutely.
this to be their satellite. It's cool.
A lot of wonderful people. That's always
Yeah,
nice. What a great weekend.
and really pretty shop, like the huge front window on the front side. So then, like that, it's basically the main room is, I would probably say, the same size as the Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
But then basically double that and flip it sideways, and that's the back room. And
Oh,
so it's
wow.
still smaller to some degree, but it doesn't functionally, at least to me, feel like it.
Right.
But I'm never in those side rooms that are in Miracles of Joy. So
Exactly.
where my feet walk in that other store
Mm-hmm.
feels the same to me as this new one. It's really cool. I think it's an incredible
Oh, it
spot.
sounds amazing. I can't wait to go there. Very
Yeah, they're doing
nice.
a good job over there.
Good.
But yes, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our topic of the day, I guess.
Oh, let me pull it from our magical bowl. Let's see. We shake it up. These days I'm going to shake this bowl and it's going to fall on the floor. So
Don't
I've got
say
to hold
that.
on to it. It's because glass. It's one of my
That
favorites.
that day we'll just pick a new topic. Clear the
Yeah,
energy.
we'll have to. That's right. Absolutely. Okay, well, I've got something coming out here. Let's take a look at this. Oh, my. One of my favorite topics. Do you know that? It's one of many, but this is one of them. Okay, it is about perceptions.
Okay.
Wow. How do we
Many
get out of
classes
there?
on this,
Woo!
as I recall.
Perceptions. Oh my gosh. So let's see. What is a perception? Is that the way we perceive things, the way we look at things? Interesting. I will tell you, it's one of my favorite words, and you can imagine if my business is called vitaperceptions, perceptions must mean something to me. Um, it's one of those magical ways of looking at things. It helps you to see many angles of ideas, ideologies. It helps you to look at things without a yes and no response always. It gives you an opportunity to really, really kind of hone in on what and why things are. We look at perceptions, and again, I will quiet down in a minute, and you can actually say something
No,
here.
this is
But
you.
but perceptions to me is something we can use not only in the metaphysical world and the communities in what we in which we live and teach, but also just in everyday life. The way we perceive things is really an opportunity for us to have a better life. We can perceive things in a negative way and have a life that's not so great. But the perception of things is truly what gets you through the day, whether it's a good day or a bad day. If I perceive that that there's someone on one of our busy freeways that's trying to road rage me, and if I look at it from a perspective that I'm a target and I'm the one this person is after, then I'm going to perceive that as a threat, and I probably will carry that all day long with me. I'll probably take it to my next place, whether it be work or home, and it may make me angry or frustrated, and that then carries again into more time. So our perception of things needs to be kind of well thought out. And I know it can be looked at from, again, all sorts of angles. If you ask 10 people in the room what perceptions means, you would have probably a slightly different answer, a slant to it from everyone. But I'm excited to talk about perceptions with you. And I know that we've had classes, as you said, on this. So what's your take on it? What do you feel when you hear the word perceptions? If I can ask you.
Of course. Well, this was the first, while you were talking, this is what they were saying. Usually when I say they, I mean my people, my guides. But it's I've never heard it said this way. They were saying that the perception, the things that you pick out of your day to, they said, that act as a fulcrum to your energy is important because it's all going to be out there to be seen. But then you take on the road rage, and that's one tool that's going to generate your own energy around something.
Yes.
And then you perceive something else, and like maybe at the same time there was a mother in the car next to you, like holding a brand new baby that you could discern was a brand new baby, and the excitement from that vehicle. So it kind of, there's very conflicting things available, and what did we see at the time, or what did we perceive at the time, will help figure out what we take action energetically on, which is probably where it's so important to guide that.
Absolutely. Well spoken. I want to also bring out the image of, we're not yo-yos. We were never created to be yo-yos, right? I don't want to go through the day going up and down and up and down and up and down in my energy. I realize that's a choice. Now I recognize, and for those listeners and viewers that have, anxiety and depression, I'm not downplaying that. I'm not saying that you are, that is 100% your choice. Okay. That's not where I'm heading here. Those are real issues, and I would never downplay them. But if you're going through your day to day and it's just a typical day, you have a wonderful opportunity to decide how it's going to play out. Now, you don't have any authority over anyone else's behavior. I mean, sometimes we wish we did, but we don't. So what we do know is that we have authority over the way we see things, the way we are presented through energy, things we hear from our team. And so we have an opportunity to really hone in on a good day. The perception, again, most of the times when people hear me, I am very, I try to be, because it's part of who I am. I'm very excited about what I do. The day is a great day. I love teaching. I love this and I love that. My little joke is, every class is my favorite class. And it's true, because if it wasn't my favorite class, I wouldn't really teach it. So far, so good. I'm still enjoying everything. So perception is the way we look at things in the class. And you were really good at this. And I love it, because some people think I'm absolutely out of my mind when I offer perception teaching in classes, because I do the impossible. I create the impossible for them. I put them at a table with, say, for instance, a bowl of water, a clear bowl with water. And I say, okay, well, I want you to pick up that bowl without touching it. You need to hold that bowl. And, a lot of people, especially the left brainers are saying, Well, that doesn't make any sense. And they might even try to move the tablecloth to bring the
And
ball closer.
I am definitely, I walked in there as a very left brain person. Like, when you asked me that, I remember thinking, all right, now we'll see. I'll try. I'll do my best.
Well, and again, now realistically, I didn't just jump off the turnip wagon. I know that theoretically it is matter, and without you reaching over and picking it up with your actual hands, to hold the matter in completion is to actually manhandle it. But we know that we have a perception, we can perceive that we're reaching for the bowl and bringing it to us. So when I say, let's pick up the bowl and hold the bowl, I'm simply trying to get you to fine tune your senses. What does it feel like? What are you holding? Is it heavy? Is it light? What does it feel like? Now we could even do this with a blindfold, because again, we know that there's a lot of opportunity if you're looking at a bowl and it looks heavy because it's made of a half an inch of glass around the bowl itself. Then it probably has some weight to it. But what we're trying to create here with perceptions is the ability to understand things, to bring it nearer and closer, to see it from a different perspective. That bowl of water means very, very little to most anyone, right? It's a bowl of water. And probably, if anything, someone would say, why is there a bowl of water? But the reality is we see a million things a day, much like that. And how cool would it be if we could really understand things better by being so close to them and being so kind of energetically intertwined with energy that we can sense what it feels like, what it is. So we then become the bowl. Now that'll throw people for for a loop. We become the bowl. Now I know again that you can't literally become a bowl of water, and I can't send you out of class to work as a bowl of water.
Right.
I mean, it would be real messy one end. I mean, what a mess that'd be. So, but what we do is we recognize that if we can really absorb things and we can see things outside of the box, then we have a lot of opportunities that we really didn't think about, that we really didn't have. And so, no, it's not going to change anyone's world to be that bowl of water. No one is going to, be the latest, greatest, newest, and smartest person because they've, become a bowl. But simply what it does is it gives you a different perspective of that bowl of water. So we do practice taking items, holding the items without touching them. What do they feel like? And then we become that item. And what does that feel like? And then we release the item. And I'll tell you, it makes no sense as the way I'm saying it. I'm sure you're all thinking, well, that sounds boring. Don't sign me up for that class. Until I tell you one other thing that we do with it. We help you to get to a place with perception that, those late nights when you're really craving that wonderful, well, I'll call it cheese mushroom pizza because that's my favorite. And you're really craving it and you really want it, but it's 1 a.m. and you know better, and you shouldn't have it for many reasons, not just because it's 1 a.m., but you really want it. Well, if you've been doing your homework with perception and you were recognizing that you can have things that are not right in front of you, that you can experience energy in different ways, then you could actually be able to bring a pizza to your senses to the point that you could actually smell it. You could go into I call it a lighter state of meditation. Actually, you don't have to be in trance, where you actually feel like you are experiencing that craving. So it's really good to help those that are also losing weight. If you use perceptions correctly and you've worked diligently at kind of amplifying them, you'll see that there's a lot of ways that you can bring things to you without putting weight on, calories, and feeling that you are satisfied with that experience. So it's used many ways. And I'm going to stop talking for a minute because I know that we've got some words of wisdom over here.
Well, I'm more than anything, I'm back to being a full-blown student. I've got a question for you about your side of these lessons,
Okay.
because since we keep it real, I do remember a long time ago, once I had figured all out what we were doing and stuff, I remember asking you, basically, you shared with me that in some ways, perceptions is a starting ground for you and a fertile ground for teaching, but it is also a diagnostic process for you as well, because you're basically able to see exactly where someone is with their own control of their energy. My
Absolutely.
curiosity to you is, when you close your eyes, because you asked me to be in meditation, and for anyone who's curious what classes like her look like, it's literally like you're down into meditation for the task, you come back up, you go back down, so it's in and out constantly.
Yes.
What I couldn't have known was that really helps me now, where when I'm doing readings, you're in and out. I don't really
All the
need a
time.
bathroom break anymore. I don't need to eat. I can just go into the next reading. So my curiosity is, from your standpoint, when you see a student close their eyes and you're like, be the bowl, or whatever the thing is, or even when you say now become that, something that is a very abstract thought, what do you either see in your mind's eye, or what do you see physically around them? And then what is a telltale sign that it's just not working versus someone you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's a very natural propensity.
And that's a great question. And there are many things that I'm looking for. Now, I want to also say to the listeners that we have to be careful. Now, I'm not going to become someone else. I'm not going to possess someone else's body, become them, so I could see it through their eyes. But I may take over the thought that is there. So if they're feeling nervous or anxious, I might connect to that thought, be that thought for a minute, so that I can help them work through it. So that to me is a very empathic technique, but it also is through perceptions as well. So if I have a student, say for instance, in this bowl of water, and they're sitting there and they're in between rolling their eyes and closing their eyes because they can't believe what I'm asking them to do, then I'm going to be more gentle with the experience, because they're closing down their energy. They're
Mm,
showing me that they don't think it's possible. Now
mm,
we'll still do the exercises as best as we can, but what I feel when someone is trying to connect, you will actually feel a surge of energy in the room. You'll
mm.
feel them actually reaching out energetically to the
To
bowl.
try.
And if you're the person that looks at auras and can read auras, which is just amazing energy, then you'll see that their aura will also shift. It'll change. You
Mm,
may even see, just as we do in mediumship, you may even see shards of light that's coming from them to the bowl.
mm.
So when these things happen, we recognize that I really can't do much to amplify it, other than the proverbial holding space, which is simply being. It's simply being there and keeping them in a safe environment.
I was to
Uh,
say, for you, I bet, like, intuitively, you kind of keep the energy sterile.
I do try
And
to do that.
and you used to stand off, like, anytime I had to meditate, you would never sit in front of me.
No, I
You'd
don't.
always sit to my side so that the
Exactly.
energy wouldn't be contaminated, so to speak.
Right, exactly. And you could have, with someone who gives you, A-OK permission, you can do a lot of exchange of energy and mindfulness by sitting across from someone. But I'm a firm believer that that's something you should get permission to do.
Mm,
That's why when I go and sit with just friendly company or someone that I've just met, I'm not allowing myself to start reading them, because I'm
mhm,
now intruding on their space. I'm sitting across from them. So unless they've asked me to do so, I try to shut that down. But getting
mhm,
back to perceptions, when someone is actually connecting and they're part of the experience, you can see there's joy there. You can see their energy shift, because they are wanting to participate. They
mhm.
are wanting to be this. And I will tell you that some people will not resonate with a bowl of water for many reasons. Perhaps maybe, every time they see water, they need to go pee. I wouldn't want to be a bowl of water, would you then? I mean, no. Or maybe if they see water and they're afraid to swim, it may kick up some intense moments. So we
Mhm.
recognize that we have to have many different variables, many different items to work with. So if I have someone, say, struggling with a bowl, I might, again, I'll probably ask intuitively to my team, my spirit guides. I'll say, okay, what would be another option here? What would be a good plan? What's the next item? And it may be a beautiful feather. It may be a
Mhm.
plant that I'll put out. Maybe it will be something that it will be a big piece of amethyst. Maybe I know that they, collect crystals and stones. And so they would resonate with it to begin with. They could
Mhm.
find some connection to it. And it is easier, I will say, it is easier if you do that with things that you are very familiar with or very fond of.
Mm.
I mean, we all become, attached, through either sentimentality or whatever connection to objects. I mean, that's just a
Mm.
natural thing about, humans. And so perceptions is really kind of pushing the envelope. It's helping you to really dive deeper, to go into these lessons and these experiences with knowing that you're not just showing up, you're participating, you're part of it. That by being able to become and to hold and to let go and to set back down and to feel and to understand, you're really setting yourself in a real wonderful way to learn and to understand the world around you better. um, one thing too, you can do this at home, folks. You don't need someone like me to teach you this. But I will tell you, if you're going to go at it and just have fun with it, to go to your pantry and grab some spices. Most of us have that spice rack. Some of us will need to dust it off, no problem. Just get it all cleaned up. You probably haven't seen these spices in years. I love to cook, so I'm the one that's making all the messes with them. But bring
I
out
love it.
ones that you don't know. I know there's some that you've never tasted. Bring them out, put them in front of you, and then become them, smell them, taste them without touching them. And I know that after a while, it almost becomes addictive because you want to sense things. It's a very positive
Mm.
sensory experience. You want to be able to perceive, to sense things without actually having to ingest them. Wouldn't it be great to know what something tastes like before you even take a bite?
Oh, wow.
So that's what perception class is, as far as the way I teach, and it just kind of just builds. It's kind of the starting block for many different lessons.
Well, I love that, and when I was raised by someone who had an attachment to vanity, and so when I was in my teen years,
Hmm.
I did as well, aggressively. And I used to try to angle mirrors to where I could see what I looked like at
Yes,
different angles. Fast forward to when I was training with you, and some things I sometimes say to people who ask me, what is a way to try to, from your words, out of my mouth, but to get out of my own energy. And
yes,
so one thing I used to do, and sometimes still do in my own bedroom, but I'll sit there and I'll try to imagine what I physically look like from a different angle, whether it's up above or
absolutely.
whether it's to my left or to my right.
Hmm.
And usually that can conjure pretty quickly because we
Hmm.
know what we look like, and probably more than anything, and you're still kind of viewing yourself. So I wonder if
Right.
our ego doesn't mind that too much. But there is that where it's like, it's a quick way of like, what do I look like from, where I'm sitting right now from the perspective of my cats? Okay. And that just by shifting kind of
Shifting.
gives your energy, hey, we're
Hmm.
ready to sort of give you a little bit of room to work.
Absolutely, and that makes a lot of sense. There's so many different techniques with perception. That's what makes it such an amazing adventure. Really, there's so many different directions, and it really does piggyback a lot of wonderful techniques. Think, for instance, if you're in a meditation and you're just sitting there, you just show up for meditation. It's a group meditation, and all of a sudden they start talking about be light as a feather. Okay, that's easy enough if you've practiced perception, because then you can become the feather and you can float everywhere, and you're feeling pretty good, pretty light. You're probably not thinking or worrying about the day's task or the things that didn't go so well. So giving your attention here and there to perception and what it truly means can help you in something as that meditation, where now you know what it feels like to be a feather, and that you can participate on such a deeper level that you're not just an observer, you are the item.
If you were to speak to the people that do, I think, naturally struggle in the I identify with the left brain stuff, where you're kind of like, I
Hmm.
need something, give me something. What would be the things that you would tell somebody as they're maybe about to go in the meditation and you just said, be light as a feather? What would the avenue from that left brain, like if you had a thought process of, okay, I know, would you say first imagine the feather, imagine
Yes.
holding it,
Hmm.
imagine it moving down through the air,
Yes.
imagine yourself with it, and then imagine, like, what is that timeline, or not timeline, but that like logic? Because we do still apply it, especially at that first part where you're like, I don't even know if any of this is real. How do I become like the feather? via
And that's
perception?
and that's a good question. And oftentimes someone that is left brain, they'll go into a meditation and they will begin to be that observer. And
Mm,
they're, again, and no matter what level you're at, sometimes some of us will go into a meditation and go, I'm not getting there, I'm not feeling it.
yes.
But for that example of the feather, if I had someone very left brain and they're sitting there and we're just kind of getting relaxed, we're forgetting the day's worries and problems, and we're getting ready to just kind of chill out and do a meditation. And I would let them focus on a feather. I'd have them visualize this feather just kind of floating downward. Gravity's taking it, very slowly. It's very light down through the energy. And I wouldn't probably say energy, I'd say through the air, so that we could get them to connect pretty soon to their terms.
Mm,
And so there's one feather coming down. Okay, well, let's bring another feather down. This one lands on their head. It's very light, it's very wispy, it's no problem. They can feel it now. They'll pretend for that moment, pretend.
mm-hmm.
And then we bring in a few more. Now, we're not going to, it's not a feather storm, so we're not going to bombard them too much because we don't want to freak them out either. But then we bring just a few more, and we ask them to hold one, to put their hands out in their meditation and begin to feel one. What does it feel like? Then we've got a tangible way for them to see energy, to feel energy. They can decide from that point, well, okay, I've gone this far. Let me see if I can go further, because it's not too scary or too odd or weird for someone to say, okay, let's imagine if there's a feather in this room, that you have it in your hand. Even someone who's more left brain is going to go, okay, cool, I could probably do that. And so we know that we can start with those simple techniques and build on them.
Mm-hmm.
But as we progress, we recognize we don't have to go through 7 or 8 different steps. We can simply say, okay, now we are the feather. Let's be the feather. Let's float down. We are the feather. What does it feel like now to be basically zero gravity? It's going to come down very, very slow and drift its way down. What does that feel like? How do you perceive that? How does that work for you? Then if they're good with that, you could even put in some leaves, because they all have the same kind of balance, and they'll drift down. They're light. And so again, you're just expanding the awareness.
Well, and while you were talking, what kept coming to me as well was sort of, the nature of both of those things, both a leaf and a bird or and a feather. There's a lot of nobility to what they do when they're part of the function of their
Yes,
use. So there's even that,
absolutely.
like, the release of responsibility of,
That's
like, I
right.
did what I needed to do. I'm allowed to go float down. So, you start to pick up on what it would what would you feel like if you were a leaf that had been part of this tree for the entire season, and because
Exactly.
of you, that tree's still living, even though now it's being able to sleep, and you get to fall, like, is that scary? Is that sad? Is that exciting? You're like, oh, my brother and sister's already down there. What are they doing? There's personality that you start to sense about things
Yes.
after you
That's
realize there's more to the energy of it.
absolutely. And some people will say, well, where is this all leading? My simple answer, it leads to life. It leads to your life. With the one technique, and I'm not sure if I use this with you. I may not have. Spirit Speaks, they give me all these different techniques. And so I've added many along the way, and may have even deleted some along the way as well. But, I have these really cool, sparkly, little star-shaped pieces of paper. And so we can look at it from a different angle, especially when you're trying to really hone in on energy work. And I will give it to a student and say, okay, this is a star. Use your imagination to feel that this is a star, right? And they'll usually say, well, it looks like a star. This is what would be. And we could even go so far and say, you're right, it says star on the wrapper here. We know this is a star. We know it because we could see it and we can feel it, right? Put it in your hands and hold on to it. Okay, so this is a representation of a star. Now put the star down, the paper star down. Now I'd like for you to close your eyes, and we're going to envision that the beautiful sky above is coming down slightly. And I'm going to ask you to reach up. Now don't worry, you're not going to get burned. You're not grabbing the star necessarily, but a star. That's not going to burn you. It's not going to harm you. It's not, going to, take you up into the atmosphere in a negative way. So envision bringing the star down. Well, we've experienced what it felt like to have a paper star in our hand. Now, because we've got an experience that we can hold on to something, we can transition right into now reach for one. Hold on to it. Hold it with both hands. You're not just, you came to her with two, most people. So hold on to it. Get a good feel for it. And that's sometimes people say, well, I don't feel anything. Okay. Well, grab another one then until you do, until you feel something tangible. Now, I know and you know that there isn't a star in your hand, because there'd be a lot of reasons why that wouldn't be a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
But we recognize that it's a technique. It's a way to help build these skills. Okay. And I know there's listeners out there that are going, why do I need all this? Why do I need all this? For one thing, it's fun. It's very fun. And in other ways, it helps you to understand people better. Where I said we don't people jump, there are techniques and people, and that's a whole nother class and another topic for our podcast. But most of what we do is connect to the emotions that are being exhibited by people. So that way we're not getting into their free will. But when I can see something around someone and perceive that they've got a lot of loss or guilt or loneliness or something, I can take that, a part of that, and I can understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand them better. No, I don't want to take and absorb it. I don't want to go, oh, this is what loss feels like. Oh, good, let's grab a hold of that. But I recognize through practice and experience that there is a way of getting just enough of it to understand someone. And
Mm-hmm.
that is really when perception is at its best and its finest. We do use it to help others. We do use it to help ourselves. The world is a magical place on so many levels. And sometimes we get frustrated because life isn't magical. The day to day, we see it as sometimes just the opposite. But when we bring in experiences, and we could sit literally, there's nothing more fun for me than sitting there used to be malls. They're far and few between, but every now and again there's a food court, and not all food courts I want to sit and smell. Okay, let me tell you that right now.
Not all are built equal.
Exactly, not are all built equal, but there are some that you can sit in front and you can actually just kind of gaze into energy. You probably don't want to be sitting in a food court doing this. But you probably can get away with just kind of zoning out. We call it daydreaming, zoning out. And as for fun, what are the smells? What am I smelling? What am I perceiving? What am I getting? If I'm sitting across from, who knows, the salad bar is a little harder because some of the scents are not as strong. But what am I getting? What am I feeling? Maybe I'm seeing beets, and I love beets, so I'm going to envision eating them because I really like them. Now I know I didn't pay for them, but fortunately there's plenty over there, right? So I'm perceiving that I'm eating them, and so we recognize that we can use it and have fun and play with it. And as we're playing and having fun with these different ideas and ideologies, we recognize they are building blocks. And I'm going to use these blocks in other aspects of my life, right? I'm going to know by a recipe if it doesn't taste right by making it and observing and connecting to it before I've even put a spoon in it.
Or yes, or like psychometry.
Yes.
Huge use of it. Psychometry
Yes.
being the deduction of information from an item,
Yes.
right? But
Exactly.
also one thing that I got into kind of deep with you and then jumped right out as fast as possible. But I was really interested in the missing persons work that you've done.
Yes.
And all of the, I mean, we touched on that probably a couple months after the perceptions.
Yes, we
And
did.
that entire class framework was literally like perceptions on steroids, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but really getting right back into the same understanding the function of energy, which is like the imprinted nature of it.
Yes.
Like, and I think that's the other thing too, where it's like if somebody wants to know why and what would the value of sounding crazy doing these things that really look like they have no function and purpose, but when you start to develop the trust between like, oh, I feel like maybe the last person who touched this was male. Maybe the last person who touched this was female. Some of the biggest heat signatures I feel for energy is usually the
Yes.
gender.
Yes.
and then whether or not they are of a high or low vibration.
Right.
Like, so you can start to get, and we all gauge that already. Like, we already have that feeling when someone joins a group and we're like, I don't know, something's off. I just don't vibe with them. I don't quite know why yet. And so
Exactly.
we're already using the function. Imagine if it was fine tuned.
Hmm.
It's kind of like all of us know basic math, but then there's engineers. And you're like, all right, well, technically, these are the building blocks to be that. Because he can't be that without basic math.
Exactly. Well spoken. That's exactly right. And you mentioned missing person cases, and again, that will be a segment all in its own, because there's a lot to be said about it. But that's a perfect example. When you learn and you heighten your perception, you can take it out in the field. You can take it in areas to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked on one case that was unfortunate because the person was not found alive. But what was important was to work through the information. And when you are open to perception, then you can hone in on, okay, show me a track, give me a sound, give me some information, give me a smell, give me something. Because remember, if everything's interlocking and a building block, then we take these skill sets, and we bring them out in the field, as I say, so we can do other things, and we can help. One technique with perception. Now, I did mention that we don't jump into other people's energy, but there are times that we are in a situation where we reach to their higher self and say, "Listen, I'm going to help you. I'm trying to help you. Is this okay? Is your higher self going to let me?" And then I'm going to hope that what I'm hearing is the correct answer as best as I can as a human being. And then I'm going to proceed. So when I am looking for someone, I will reach to them. I will tap into their energy. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily want to become them, but I want to be with them. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be able to see where they're at. I want to be able to bring in the ground, see what the ground is like. Is it dirt? Is it grass? What does it smell like? How am I going to find them? What do the tracks look like? Is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 treads? Where are we going? What are we
Mm-hmm.
doing? How are we helping?
Oh my gosh. And to your point of that process that you have to dig through, it's like I've run into this a bit. I don't necessarily know that people understand that information for a psychic is not necessarily easy to come by.
Right.
It usually feels like getting a little bit of momentum, and then
Yes.
the picture starts to show itself. But that beginning part, you're just sitting there like, I hope that something
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
People don't realize, they think that just because, and I know you probably feel this, I know I feel this, you might have a friend and now they think that suddenly you can just see into their life all the time, and,
All the
and then
time.
they
Yes.
and then they pull back when they're up to stuff and you just got your groceries done, you don't have any idea anything's going on, and they're avoiding you because they imagine that you're in their wall
Yes.
watching them do something they're not proud of. And I have to say, I'm sorry that that happened for you, because I've done the same thing 100 times. But there is that reality of like, it is work to go reach out to other energies. No one's just sitting here getting downloads that your best friend's doing something dumb. Sometimes it
Right.
happens that way, but oftentimes that's because it's your best friend. Now imagine someone
Right.
you don't know that well, or someone you don't know at all.
And that's a good point too, because it crosses a few lines. We're not sitting there, just so you'll know, as what was said by Sophia. We're not sitting there going, okay, I'm going to tap into all your secrets. We don't really care about your secrets. Okay, your secrets are your secrets for your reasons. But what we do is, when we are called to do that, we are needed to do that. Then yes, then we go ahead and we get a little bit closer to energy. But we typically get permission. We're not going to go spy on your boyfriend for you. We're not. I've had that request. I'll go. Can you
Oh
go see what he's
no.
doing?
Nope.
Well, I don't really want to see what he's doing, because I don't feel that he's going to want me to see what he's doing. Now, if you can call him and say, "Listen, I have an intuitive friend who's going to spy on you for a while. Are you good with that?" And if they say yes, well, I'll give it a try. I'll go there. I might even rustle their hair and play with, the energy, and get them all frustrated. But more than anything, please know that these gifts, as what was said, are really, they're not just, here they are, snap of the finger, here they are.
Mm-mm.
They do take work.
Well, and the weird thing too, just I remember this. I was going through a horrible breakup. I hadn't told you about it yet. and it was like 7 p.m. in the evening, and I'm just sobbing, ugly crying in my bed, not planning on telling everybody. And I get a text from Terri that says, "Why are you in so much pain?" I was like, I don't want to talk about it right now. But it was, it's one of those things where it's like, there, aside from what I just said, it is really interesting because I have a friend named Tan who's very gifted, and then Terri. And there is an awareness to myself as well. If I'm about to do something that I really can't take back, I'm kind of like, well, I do have two people who will know, most likely. And it does affect my behavior sometimes.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Well, it's helpful. It's a new level of accountability. I will say that.
It is. It's a very unique level of accountability. But it does happen. But we don't just go out there. We don't abuse the gifts. And
No,
we're not going to abuse the gifts on your behalf either. So if
nor
you're
do we
making
probably still have them.
right, exactly. Right. Otherwise, we won't keep them. We won't have them. If these gifts are spirit driven, which I'm a firm believer they are. I'm not about to upset spirit because I kind of like the relationship. I'm kind of fond of being able to tune in and to help others. And so when I'm starting to use it, if I ever do, as a weapon to others or in other negative ways, I certainly don't want the gift because it won't be of any use to anyone. So more than anything, kind of so for those listeners that are really now just kind of thinking, I am so lost. What am I doing? This is perceptions. I don't want to ever know anything more about perceptions. We don't want you to get stuck in the mud here. We just simply want to say to you, take a look at something and really see it. How many times do we not see things? How many times have we gone on a walk and the only thing we remembered about the walk is the fact that we returned? That happens a lot. I see a lot of people that are out walking, and I used to be an avid walker, and I used to see this all the time. It broke my heart. People would be walking, and they would be just staring down at the sidewalk. And if nothing else, if you're going to do that, look for the little bugs there. Look for what's happening on the sidewalk. Chances are you're more apt to fall if you're staring at the sidewalk in your feet than if you're not. So open up, experience things. Go for that walk. Go see things. Go experience the squirrels that are, chortling in the trees. Go experience seeing, the butterflies as spring unfolds. Go see how many birds. Make it a journey. Don't just make it a chore. Anytime you can add and bring life to an experience, you are giving yourself just an incredible gift. And you're not only getting it for yourself, you're giving it to the creatures that you're giving attention to.
Mm.
So more than anything, perception is meant to amplify you. It's meant to make you feel better. It's not to amplify your fears, your worries, and your concerns. Okay, that's not where we're going here. If you've got a tremendous amount of post-traumatic stress disorder, I know you don't want to be connected to a lot of things, obviously, that are triggers. So we're not saying go ahead and fight your demons that way. We're simply saying bring in energy that you're compatible with, that can be joyful and happy and fun. Go stare at those donuts at Krispy Kreme. And what do they taste like without putting them on your hips? What is about them that's so cool? Is it the smell? Is it the texture? Is it the cream-filled ones? What is it? Experience it. Bring it to you without ever touching it. Have fun with it. That's what perceptions is about. How do you see things? And how does it apply in your life?
When you were talking about the donut thing and the staring, the other aspect too that I felt like they were saying to me real fast was, if anyone's trying to figure out, like they want command of the next photo, the next picture, right?
Yes.
Because somebody did a lot of painting on the image that they sit with, and if it's not something you're happy with, then there's this innate desire to be in control of the way the next one is painted.
Right. Yes.
And the way that we discover the right colors to use, part of that means being present in certain moments in your life, because we spend so much time as a human culture of
Can be.
can be of people who were just not in the moment anywhere. So then when
Yes.
you are trying to meditate and you're like, I want to be a spiritual person, and the mundane isn't doing it for me, but you don't have an updated and current concept of what peace feels like, or what enjoyment
Yes.
of nature feels like, or the enjoyment of that gluttonous thing that you've in the gym forever and you're trying to be more well balanced. And so you go and you say, this is what it means to eat nothing but sugar. Okay, cool. And you
Exactly.
start to have a framework so that
Mm-hmm.
if actions we take in the future are painting, because that is what really creates the picture,
Yes.
then if the tools from our family gave us insecurity, a little bit of anger, a little bit of a desire to be a victim, all the things I can say mine gave me, then that's it. Unless you do the work to figure out what it feels like to experience love, even if you're not there yet to where you think you deserve it, you can go to a dog park and watch a ton of it and
Yes.
identify that vibration.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's fair to ask somebody who is learning what those color, redefining those colors. But I will say there's a reason to do so. And the reason is because that gives you much more power to paint your next image. So it sounds silly, like, oh, go watch the squirrels play. When was the last time anybody did? What comes to mind when you think of what that would be? They're kind of chaotic. They're definitely a cultural thing because we always say, "Oh, squirrel,"
Yes.
when we're chaotic. I mean, so they're in our zeitgeist as an energy. But do you feel protective of them? Do you own a home, and so thus you hate them more than life itself? You know what I mean? And as we start to evaluate through these perceptions, you kind of try to hit all the colors. Grief is
Yes.
going to come to you. I wouldn't seek that out. We know what that feels like. But even if you have been single and you're like, this is the thing that I hope people use it for. People have been single forever. You see all the rom-coms and you see a lot, or you're at the restaurant and you're alone and they're with a partner. A lot of people can get really frustrated and be like, well, everyone's got someone but me, is the way that song goes, right?
Right.
But the other way through perceptions is you look at that and you say, she looks really happy. She looks super chill. He looks like he's really understood. They feel like they kind of work together. And before you know it, you start to enunciate, well, at least I saw one version of what one thing I think I might like.
Yes.
And you start doing that through different scenarios. And then before you know it, when the time comes and you're in front of somebody, say you're a female, and all of the perceptions work you've done is you've clocked all the cute couples and what they look like, and someone's in front of you, and they're kind of not exemplifying much of anything you've seen before. Well, your perception says, I've clocked what I think I want because I've been present in these moments. I've been deducing how she feels, how he feels. At least now I know what that picture might look like. I think it might not look like with you. And then before you know it, you're making big, big life choices off of this work that really kind of seems silly at the time.
Absolutely. I love it. That makes a lot of sense. And something that you can add to that experience too. When people do what you mentioned at the start of this, which is they'll go and they'll feel as if, I'm judging them. I'm looking at them and
Right.
they're happy and I'm not.
Yeah.
They're together and I'm not. And so what we're also saying to ourself is, I'm not happy. I'm not going to have that. I am single. I'm
Mm,
not going to have that.
which is the
So,
fear.
which is fear. But again, if we are manifesting our destinies, right, by our words and our actions, that's not a good way to find a date, is it? To put out to the universe that I'll never have one of those. So we recognize, as you were saying, that to find what it is, to go in past the value of what you may be feeling in emotions, but they look happy, they look compatible. I'm happy for them. I know someday I'll be sitting with someone if it's my choice. I know that this is something I wish for and want. So that's the direction that's going to bring someone at that table that's for you, not the other type of words.
Just real quick, I had over this past weekend, so I had a individual sitting in front of me, and you know, certain energies show up, and you can tell
Mhm.
they're not really here to be vulnerable.
Right.
But the issue is my guides don't seem to care.
I love it.
And so
Yes.
it's like, and you get the same response. One of the statements was, I used to do what you do, which let me know that they felt that they were to some degree or another sensitive, and that
Right.
it was more of a like a test of like, let's just see. And I said, well, I always say this is, well, it's your time. What do you want to talk about? And I felt that then that person didn't was like, well, you're supposed to tell me. So I just go in and immediately, what happened in August, they can't remember. All right. Well, and it's almost like my guides go from I'll leave it up to you how much you want to say, but if you
Yes,
don't want to say anything, then we'll just start saying it. I had to weasel through these layers of guard essentially to get to the fact that this person was well aware that they were struggling in their marriage and that it wasn't
absolutely.
going great.
Right.
So then you sit there and they're the opposite where they're in a union and they're still having to discern what's going on within that union. So they would have that same benefit of that, you know, married 10 years, whatever, but looking at that same couple saying, can I have that again? I remember that. I remember I did have that. What on earth has happened? And I think that there's just, if people can look at things as energetically analytical, oh, there'd be so much,
Well
there'd be
said.
usage. It'd be
Yes.
so good to like
It'd be
dive into that.
amazing. It'd be
But
very helpful. And, that does happen. And again, for those that do find yourself sitting in front of an intuitive and just going, here I am. Okay. That's fine too. I know a lot of people are kind of like, give me what you got. What do you got for me? And they don't want to say a word, whether it's true or not true. They just want to just be there. And
mhm.
that does happen, and that's fine too. Again, we're not trying to take energy from you. We're not trying to go, okay, well, give me some things that I can say yes or no to. But we recognize you're right. There's a lot of guardedness, and oftentimes when we look at what's in front of us and look at you, we know that there's some basic things you can do to really amplify a good life and take
Mhm.
you from feeling like you're kind of caught into this doldrums and caught into something that's not working for you. So you're right. It's all about perception. It's just amazing how it flows into our everyday life.
Well, and I will, because I know you got to get going. I'll pull up the listener question, but while I do, I was thinking to your point of perceptions, and also to your point that practitioners do different things. I kind of didn't realize. I don't know if you're. I'd be curious if your guides do this or not. One of the things that always seems to happen is they'll give me a timestamp in the past that's important,
Mhm.
or a timestamp in the future that's important.
Yes.
And I just always went with it. But then I remembered that there was this guy I used to watch like years ago, and he was like the number one pickpocket. Apparently, he like pickpocketed Carter's service security guards with his badge on
Oh
live
my
television.
gosh.
Like his name's Apollo Robbins, I think. But I remember one time he said that when the worst thing we can do with our attention, if we're trying to be on guard with our physical body, is to remember something or think forward. And it just hit me. My guides always give me some date to start off with that's important.
Mhm.
And the moment my client starts going to dig for it, it's almost like all the information just starts coming to me. And
Yes.
up to that point, I wasn't getting that much from them.
Mhm.
So it's weird because I wondered if even my guides understand if you can disarm someone, because the date they give me is always accurate. Like someone always remembers what I'm talking about, even though I don't know what
Exactly.
I'm talking about. So
I
that's
love
kind of
it.
curious.
Now, to listeners, we're not trying to disarm you. We're not trying to pull one over you
Oh, yeah, no,
either.
this is a client who's no, 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 these are clients that seek me out and seek you out
Yes,
to talk
absolutely.
to us. We're not knocking anyone's doors down.
And and yes, I do experience that with my team too. Not every time, but and I'll never know really when it's going to be, because as you know, they start chatting and talking, and we're like, okay, where are we going? Cool, let's talk about this. And a date comes out, like October just popped into my head. Now I know I like October because of Halloween. I don't know who it applies to, who it belongs to. Heck, it might even be the answer to the question coming. But I did hear that, and so oftentimes we just get these messages that just flow.
Mhm.
And if you're the one sitting in front of us, you're the one that's going to hear it. We're going to give it to you, and we're going to see if you know what we're talking about. But you're right, and and we don't want you to become the best
No.
pickpocketer. So don't
No,
need
no,
to worry
no.
about going, following that. But but what she said was very valid. I mean, that's true. If we give them a date in the past to give them to indulge in their energy, then and then give them something in the future, then we're kind of opening up the doors. It's kind of like pulling both of the doors open.
Well, and I have an expectation with my guides that you taught me to have, which is I don't just want to date for date's sake. I need you guys to give me something that is meaningful, that
Exactly.
allows them to know I'm tapping into something legitimate. So you know what I
Right.
mean? It's not usually, and what it, people are not always fully honest, but really they had a really bad um, conversation about their relationship, the nature of their marriage in August.
Yes.
So
And it's interesting. I had a client recently, and again, we get real here, people. We have fun and we get real. We don't
yeah,
give names because we don't want you to laugh at their face if you see them or know them. We love everybody.
but we will
But
talk. This is our life.
this is what we do. I had someone recently who's a gentleman, and I will tell you, you guys, sometimes you do get a little bit distant with us. You're kind of sitting there like, you don't know if your wife made you, your girlfriend made you, your
You
mom
can feel
made
it
you.
sometimes. You're like,
If
oh, you don't want to be
you're
here.
sitting there, yes, exactly. You're sitting there, and your whole objective is to push us away, and we get that. But you're sitting in front of us, so it's something. There's some curiosity there. I had this client recently, and it was just ping, ping, ping. It was coming out of my mouth, and I was like, "Woo!" Just saying everything, and the whole time he was going, "Yep,
Mm.
okay, yep, okay," and he wasn't yupping okay. We were yupping and okay. And I didn't know if he was, the King of England or he was, moving to New York. Well, I knew a lot, but he wasn't answering a thing. I mean, it was just like,
Yeah.
and I see that sometimes, and it's kind of funny because I just had one like that, where by the time you get off the phone call or the Zoom or we were in person, you recognize that when they leave, the only thing they wanted you to get verification and commitment on was their name. And nothing was validated. It was like, thank you, and that was it. So I actually thought it was funny because it was so different. Because yes, there's all
Mm.
different degrees of acceptance or confirmation, but this was so funny. He wanted nothing to be known about him other than his first name, and it was very intriguing to witness. But my guides were chatting, they were talking to him, and I try to, I'm not there to read their body language. So if I hit a nerve, I don't even want to see that because I don't want that to
Mhm.
be my segue.
Mhm.
But going back to what you said, sometimes there is no response. It's just this is the information. We have to trust what we're getting. It either applies or it doesn't apply. They either think that we're accurate or they don't. But at the end of the day, that's it's not our job. Our job is to
No.
hear our team.
And we have to just let ourselves be as weird as the messages are, because 9 times out of 10, it's the weird messages that have something very specific to
Yes.
prove. So I had to get over that too, of like, that's really weird. Now I just gotten to the point where I just say whatever I'm being shown,
Yes.
even if it's weird. And then every single time you go that direction, you always get confirmation because someone starts crying or like there's some
Right.
eureka within that. But
Within that.
my desire to be cool for a long time wouldn't let me describe it the way that it was shown because I thought it was too weird or it was too made me sound crazy. Now I realize that's where the good stuff is.
That's where the good stuff is. When you recognize what you have, when you recognize that the information being given isn't ours,
Mhm.
it's theirs. Then you stop cherry picking what you're saying because you
Oh yeah.
realize that it's not for you to keep.
Well, I used to think, and then I promise I'll ask this question. I used to think when you would tell me so many times, you'd say, "Oh, I don't really remember my readings. I don't really." In my head, I was like, "Well, it's okay. I didn't know you that well, right?" So I was like, "Well, she probably just doesn't trust me with like the information that's in some of these readings," and I totally respect that. But I just thought that was something that you said to be like normalizing or polite to it, and then you just realize immediately you don't remember anything.
No,
You could have a whole day of the juiciest stuff ever.
and you
By the
don't
time
remember
you're
it.
home, you can remember highlights maybe, but by the next day, it's all gone.
It's all gone. It's all gone. And and that's exactly true. Everything that we do, we can have, an affair, we can have anywhere from 11 to 15 people. I've had a busy day with up to 24 people one day, and if you were to come back the next day or the 2 days later and go, oh, tell me more about blah blah, I'd be going, why don't you tell me what blah blah was? Because I wouldn't be able
Mhm.
to remember or regurgitate anything because we're not present. We're really not just present. It's not our ideas that we're sharing with you. It's something we're sharing from the spirit team.
Oh, man, it's hard to explain that to somebody because
It
I
is.
remember
It really
viscerally not
is.
believing you and being fine with it, but just being like, "There's yeah, sure, maybe there's no way." And I have such a good memory with everything. So I remember just thinking, "Well, maybe oh my god, it's gone." And then thank God it like you said it would, when they sit with you again, it downloads again.
It
So you don't
downloads.
actually thank God.
Yes.
Sometimes I swear this happened kind of recently. I recognize that I should know more about this person than I do. And then I kind of remember thinking in the back, I'm on Zoom, and I'm in my head, I'm like, guys, we're like 3 minutes in this. I can't remember anything about this person. Please help me. None of it was coming. And normally around that 2 to 3 minute mark, it's all there. I
Right.
was like, wake up, guys. I need something. She's looking at me like wide eyed and with a lot of love. Like, you helped me so much. I'm like, I'm trying to remember what we
You
did
are.
last time. Yeah.
Yes. And it's
So
so true. And it's not that we're just, I mean, we're very loving, caring people.
I think so.
I had a client real quick that did this. I felt so bad. She accepted it, but I knew she didn't understand it. I had seen her in person. She'd come to my office, and we had a really good 30-minute session. I mean, she was very pleased enough that she reached out 2 weeks later by Zoom. And so we did a Zoom session, and I said to her the first thing, because I always say what I hear, and I just go there. And I said, "Oh, your energy is very familiar. Have I spoken to you before?" And she just didn't answer me for a bit. And I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I said, "You really are familiar, but let's go ahead and let's get into the session." And she said, "I was just at your office." I said, "Oh, okay, well, even better. Then you know how I do my readings." And so then I went and she said, "Oh, okay, well, you did say that last time. You must have remembered." No, I
Mm-mm.
didn't remember her. Not because she wasn't lovely and important, because she's a sweet lady. And, if I saw her again and, a month from now, I'd probably do the same thing. It's not because we don't find you important. It's that when we're doing our work, we're doing the spirit work. And that means that the relationship is more of in developmental stages between you and the team, the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just the middleman.
Low key, it's probably a really good thing when we don't remember stuff because
Oh, I
normally those
know.
those are the more unique ones.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I know sometimes, people are getting readings, and we look at them and go, "You have 3 children," and they're going, "Duh, you know that. You say that every time I see you." But the reality is we don't remember.
Mm-mm.
We just know energy, and you may be a familiar energy, but I don't remember anything about you. And I
Yeah.
love everybody. Okay, so if I see you 10 times, I'm going to know your name eventually. Okay, give me a
Right,
little
right.
time.
No, I feel that. All right, this is our one question for the
Ooh,
group, and
I'm
then I'll
ready for
get to.
this. This
All
is
right.
exciting. Get ready. Here we go. The
So we
question
got
is.
you want the personal question or the metaphysical question first?
Oh, you just have at it. Doesn't matter either way.
All right, we'll go metaphysical first.
Okay.
All right. So it says, is there a specific reason why some people die young? Is it a need to move on into another energy vessel? Question mark. Time is a concept, but it seems odd to me how so many people in my life close to me have passed on. I'm curious if it's a higher power or just fate.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow. That's a very interesting question. That was very well thought out. First and foremost, I want to say I know it's painful to lose loved ones, and I recognize that you've lost a lot of them. A lot of people that you know have left this earth in your question too soon. And I understand that. Now I know that there are many different emotions that come about when there is, a separation from life to death. So I don't take that lightly, and I do want you to know that I mean this with love. But we recognize that we come here for these lifetimes, and we fulfill contracts. Now, I will be honest with you, I don't remember signing the dot on the dotted line. I feel quite certain I must have signed, probably raised my hand twice for some of my experiences. Don't know why I did that either. But we recognize that we come to Earth, and if we believe in past lives, then we're coming back, here and there and time again. We recognize that sometimes we come back, sometimes even the guides come back to be human for a little bit, to gain another set of experiences, and then go back, and that's it for them. Then they become back into the team of the spirit world of guides. So to answer your question, I do believe that from a spiritual standpoint, that people come in this life, they come in this time of life where they have prepared their exit.
Mhm.
And whether that means they're going to come back next time, as a female when they were a male, or vice versa, or whatever the reason may be. Maybe they are just here to gain a little extra wisdom before this is it. They're not going to return. So I would want to say to you again, emotions and love, and we know the affections that's very important stuff. So do mourn those that have passed, recognizing that it's the humans that are remaining that usually feel that. Those going and moving forward into transition and we always hear it as a much better place, and I truly believe it is. We can speculate as to exactly what it looks like, but we can probably agree that it's probably not a bad place to go. If we keep
Mm-hmm.
reincarnating, I don't think it's to get away from the spirit world. I think it's because we
Mm-hmm.
learned that there's so much more, and that coming here a second time or third time is no big deal. Okay? So the answer in a nutshell is they probably have contracted for shorter lives, a shorter lifespan. And so send them as much love, remember them fondly, and know that your inner circles, your outer circles will join you in the next life.
And to top that off as well, there's a lot of belief systems that I support around this idea where a lot of death has so much karmic kinetic potential.
Yes.
People don't do well with it. And
Yes.
so whenever there is a young energy that really doesn't adopt enough autonomy to be considered karmically creating,
Yes.
I have a tendency to believe that those souls are either incredibly mature and here to help us clear karma. In other words, there has to be a role for us to play out our grief and our frustration about those losses, and then we're clocking karma by how we respond. But it's really beautiful that there are some circumstances, whether they're old souls or really just magnetically gigantic souls that can do this across time for a lot of people. But there seems to be a place marker for those that help us clear karma on a
Yes.
functional level that looks a lot like really young death.
And you're right. And we do see that. We do feel that in our work. So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up as well.
Mm-hmm. I think it's actually kind of cool. I mean, not obviously not cool. Let me rephrase that. I'm in my metaphysical head, but I mean, like when you see a young energy, I assume a couple of things that they're quite old in age because we don't really get
Yes.
to start playing those cut and paste games till we're a little
Right.
bit more
I
evolved.
love it. Yes.
And so whenever obviously there's the pain of it, but then I look at that energy, I'm thinking, help me out of here, like take me with you. You
I
know what I
want to
mean?
go
Like
with
there's this
you.
energy of
Yes.
you're killing it, man. Thank you for
Hmm.
coming and doing what you just did here because I recognize there was a function
Right.
more so than. But anywho, okay. Last question is
Absolutely.
for Miss Carson. I should say her name probably. Um, where should I go within my career? I want to be a full time entertainer, creative,
I
but I'm
knew it.
seeking some guidance.
Yes, I knew it. Because, oh, yeah, I love the way energy works. Immediately, Carson, is it? As soon as you said the name, I thought, oh my gosh, this is a jokester. This is someone fun who's very flamboyant, who really wants to go out there and be present. I love this person's energy. I feel this person needs to stop judging themselves. I feel like they get real close. Kind of the image I see is when someone is learning to water ski, they get real close and they're just about ready to stand and then they topple over because there's fear base. So what I'm going to suggest to her is that she continue to move forward, doing her everyday tasks, whatever that may be in her role, and to push forward with her attitude. um, start paving the way. And when I say about paving the way, when you want to be an entertainer and you want to be in the public eye, then you have to behave in a good way. You can be silly, but you have to always behave. And I feel that if she starts making good, smile at everybody she sees, find some things that she is very adept at, whether it's telling a funny joke or whether it's writing down a paragraph from a script that she's thought over. Get each day to be part of that direction. I do feel she'll be successful, but I do feel that there's some roadblocks. And I want to say, take the roadblocks away. You're the one putting them there.
Mm,
And we do self-sabotage. I don't feel that I feel that you've kind of worked past a lot of that self-sabotaging, but I do feel that there's still a little bit present. Know that you are very capable of doing so. I see you on stage. You could start very small too. I mean, there are plenty of stages.
I believe that she is currently like a up and coming burlesque dancer
Oh my
and
gosh, I love it.
doing very well in that field.
Yes, that's right. That makes perfect sense because I just see this flamboyant energy.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
And I just want to say, just you go, you do it, because this is something you're meant to do. Don't second guess yourself. Keep moving forward. There's going to be people that will be very responsive to your efforts and people that won't be. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Those that don't, you stay forward. You've got this. Good luck.
Yay. Well, Carson, I think it's going to go great. She's spoken to me about some of that, and I do think that there is a part of, we always wind up dual natured, right? When we
Yes.
want something beautiful, but we can also get a little bit down on ourselves or down on our surroundings. So I think it is sometimes they say that, the beauty of creativity and the understanding of the mundane co-travel.
Yes.
So it's hard to
Absolutely.
get.
I keep seeing sparkles. I see all
I
this
love
silver glitter. I don't know where it's coming from, but I see all this silver glitter. And it may even be a dress because I just see it's like, woo, it's catching the light and it's really pretty. So
Oh,
I just see good things there.
I love that. I love that. Well, once again, it looks like we have done it.
Oh my gosh. Or as I Brutus would say, we've done it.
Yes.
I love
Terri,
it.
go ahead and tell us how we can get to you.
Oh gosh, yes, please get to me, get to me. I'm Vita Perceptions. My website is Vita Perceptions, VITA, not Vita. It is Vita. It is Latin for life. Imagine that. And life perceptions. So Vita Perceptions, come see me there. I do also have links there to. I do get a lot of emails. That's great. And that would be, again, vitaperceptions@gmail.com. You'll find that information on my website. I do private events. I could do private readings. I do corporate events and private events. If you have a need, if you want a mentorship program, I have several of those. I do have limited enrollment at times because I want to make sure that I have enough time for everybody. But do reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you.
Yay. As always, comment below on any questions you may have about metaphysics, or would you like your question possibly answered on the next episode? New episodes every Friday. And until next time, Terri, I love you so much.
I love you so much. Hey, keep knowing
Yay.
and glowing. This is a great world.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.